The Karnathi Dominion had ruled the Orion Arm for millennia. Their colossal black fleets cast shadows across stars as they expanded, world by world, species by species, until all who opposed them lay broken or enslaved beneath their claws. They were apex predators, the hunters all others feared. So when the call came to conquer Arden 6, a forgotten rim world with no recorded defenses, the Karnathi generals barely bothered to conceal their contempt. "A snack," snarled Warlord Kalir, his iridescent eyes gleaming as he surveyed the star chart. The fleet descended swiftly, dark ships slicing through the void like daggers, swarming the planet's upper atmosphere. Down below, Arden 6 looked peaceful. Rolling hills, dense forests, scattered cities clinging to life on the edge of an unremarkable solar system. The Karnathi expected little resistance. Their Psi warriors probed the planet's communication signals, ancient, slow, primitive. They detected no military transmissions, no panic, no sign of coordinated defense. This would be a feast, a bloodbath, and a triumph to be recorded in the Dominion's annals. But the humans had been waiting. From the moment the Karnathi set foot on Arden 6's soil, the planet erupted in violence. It wasn't an organized military strike, at least not in any form the Karnathi understood. Instead, waves of humans poured out of caves, bunkers, and underground tunnels, armed with makeshift weapons and grim determination. The first contact was brutal. Karnathi warriors, trained to annihilate with psychic blasts and clawed precision, found themselves ambushed by ragged human soldiers wielding railguns jury-rigged from mining equipment. When plasma bolts struck the black exoskeletons, the Karnathi recoiled, confused by the raw effectiveness of such crude tools. In the dense forests, humans planted magnetic mines and rigged collapsing cliffs to crush patrolling squads. In the cities, snipers perched in high towers picked off commanding officers with unerring accuracy. The Karnathi had never encountered resistance like this. On the third day, Warlord Kalir convened a command council in the warship Nocthal. Screens showed streams of video from scouts and drones. "We are not dealing with a typical prey species," Kalir growled. "Their tactics are savage, their courage anomalous." Admiral Shakriel, his second in command, nodded grimly. "They fight not for glory or empire. They fight for survival. They will not yield." In the battlefield's shadows, human forces employed every means of asymmetrical warfare. Small squads moved like shadows, striking supply convoys, destroying communication relays, then vanishing before retaliation. Their command centers were spread underground in labyrinths unknown to Karnathi scouts. Among the humans, a young lieutenant named Mara Tellis became a legend in the making. Born in one of Arden 6's mining colonies, Mara had watched her home. Crushed by Karnathi drones years before the invasion, she was fire and steel wrapped in scars, tough, unyielding, and filled with a burning hatred. In the battered command post of the resistance, Mara plotted strikes with her ragtag unit. Miners, farmers, mechanics turned guerrillas. Their weapons were primitive, their numbers small, but their will was infinite. "We don't have the fleets or psionics of the Karnathi," Mara told her team, voice low and fierce. "But we have something they don't. We won't break. We won't run. We will make them pay, again and again. Every time they think it's over, we hit harder." Karnathi commanders grew frantic as casualties mounted. What should have been a quick campaign dragged into weeks of bitter fighting. The Dominion's pride cracked. The humans adapted faster than any recorded enemy. They learned Karnathi patrol routes, exploited weaknesses, and repurposed fallen enemy technology. More than once, Karnathi units were turned on each other with hacked comms and altered targeting systems. In a chilling message broadcast across the Karnathi fleet, Human Command sent a single line in broken Karnathi. "This is your warning. Leave now or die." Despite their psychic advantages and advanced weaponry, the Karnathi realized they faced something unprecedented, a species that did not submit, did not negotiate, and did not fear death. By the end of the first month, Karnathi losses had shattered the pride of their elite units. The Dominion's warships retreated from Arden 6's orbit with heavy damage. Back on the planet, human fighters watched the black ships disappear beyond the stars, their eyes cold and resolute. They had survived. They had won the first battle, and the galaxy would never be the same. The Carnathi Dominion was stunned. Their fleets, once thought invincible, had been humiliated on Arden 6. The scars ran deep, not just in shattered ships and fallen warriors, but in their pride. Apex predators don't lose. And yet, their prey had not just survived. They fought back with a ferocity that defied all logic. Far from the battered front lines, deep within the asteroid belt orbiting Arden 6, a cluster of human freighters moved, silently. They were no warships, no gleaming battle cruisers with psychic shields and plasma turrets. They were scrap, converted mining vessels haphazardly armed and shielded, piloted by former miners, engineers, and smugglers. Among them was the Vigilant, helmed by Captain Elias Varn. A grizzled veteran of the Arden 6 resistance, Elias was calm under fire, a man who understood that survival in this war came not from overwhelming power but from cunning. "Status report," Elias asked, eyes scanning the holographic star map. Lieutenant Ria Chen tapped her console rapidly. "Carnathi convoy moving along the Triskelion route, heavy escort, but they're hauling supplies from the outer colonies back to the core. If we can hit them here, it'll cripple their forward operations for months." Elias nodded, voice low. "Good. Prep the electromagnetic disruptors and railgun turrets. We'll strike fast, hit hard, and vanish." The Vigilant slipped from shadow, a ghost in the void. When the Carnathi convoy emerged from a nebula, it was like a prize waiting to be plucked. The first salvo from human railguns tore through a lightly armored supply ship's hull, detonating its fuel tanks in a silent bloom of fire. Carnathi cruisers responded with plasma bursts, but the humans had already triggered their electromagnetic disruptors, flooding enemy sensors with noise, blinding their targeting systems. One by one, the Carnathi ships found themselves firing. Blindly, their psychic command network scrambled by sophisticated hacking AI stolen from long-abandoned Earth archives. In moments, the tide had turned. The human raiders danced through the wreckage, delivering crippling hits to the convoys. Core transports. Explosions bloomed across the void like deadly stars. On the Carnathi flagship Dreadscale, Admiral Shakriel slammed a clawed fist against the command console. "Impossible," she growled. "How do these vermin keep doing this? Our systems are clean. Our psi-links intact." A junior officer trembled before her. "Admiral, they are using their primitive tech in unpredictable ways. And something else. We have detected altered AI signatures within their vessels. Rogue code. Rewriting tactics on the fly." Shakriel's eyes narrowed, piercing the holodisplay. "Their war machines think for themselves." Back on the Vigilant, Captain Elias smiled grimly. "Our AI isn't just thinking, it's learning. We feed it every encounter, every failure. It adapts faster than any biological unit." Lieutenant Chen looked up, tension in her voice. "But if they catch on and find a way to counter, then we'll adapt again," Elias said firmly. "That's the difference. We're not monsters born to hunt, we're survivors born to outlast." But the war was shifting beyond the battlefield. On Arden 6's surface, human scientists, engineers, and hackers worked feverishly to build a weapon that would tip the scales. The nanoplague, a swarm of microscopic machines designed to infiltrate and dismantle Carnathi technology from within. In the underground labs of the Resistance, Mara Tellis watched the first trials with guarded hope. "This could end the war," she said quietly. "But if it fails, if the Carnathi develop countermeasures, it could mean extinction." The first deployment came sooner than expected. During a coordinated strike on a Carnathi communication hub deep in Arden 6's northern forests, Mara's squad infiltrated the compound, deploying nanobots that crawled into the network's core, processors. Minutes later, the system began to malfunction. Screens flickered, turrets misfired, and psychic command signals were scrambled. Carnathi troops panicked as their trusted technology turned traitor. News of the nanoplague spread through the Dominion like wildfire, sowing fear. The Karnathi had always relied on their psychic supremacy and superior technology to dominate. Now their weapons betrayed them. Across the sector, rumors swirled of human commandos slipping behind enemy lines, leaving destruction in their wake. Not just of soldiers, but of entire supply depots and intelligence arrays. In the Galactic Council chambers, alien delegates watched the unfolding conflict with a mixture of shock and curiosity. A stern elder from the reptilian Zentari species whispered to a human envoy, "Your species fights like cornered beasts, yet your minds, they twist war itself into an unpredictable dance." The human envoy smiled faintly. "We're not just fighting to win, we're fighting to prove something." Back on Arden 6 as the Karnathi regrouped, Mara received word from Captain Elias. Vigilance spotted another supply run. His voice crackled over comms. "Ready to hit them again?" Mara's eyes burned with fierce determination. "We don't just hit," she said. "We break them." The Karnathi Dominion may have been the galaxy's apex predator for millennia, but now, in the cold dark of space, a new force had emerged, a force that refused to die. The Karnathi Dominion's defeat on Arden 6 sent shockwaves throughout the galaxy. But far from the battlefields, a different war was beginning, one fought in sterile laboratories, shadowed council chambers, and encrypted data streams. The Galactic Council summoned experts from countless worlds to study humanity, the species that had defied the apex predators. What made humans so resilient, so savage, so terrifyingly effective? On the fringe of civilized space, the research station Eris Prime buzzed with activity. Scientists in shimmering white coats analyzed genetic samples, psychological profiles, and ancient Earth records that had been painstakingly recovered from the ruins of old Terra archives. Dr. Liana Varick, a xenobiologist from the aquatic species, Vishari, stared at the holographic DNA strands hovering in front of her. "Humans are anomalies," she murmured. "Their genome is riddled with mutations that should have been fatal, except they survived. Earth is a Class 12 death world, toxic atmosphere, brutal predators, rampant disease. No other intelligent species has emerged from such conditions." Her colleague, a cyberneticist named Jin Maru, nodded. "Their bodies heal faster than any known species. They tolerate pain levels that would incapacitate even the toughest Karnathi warlord. And their brains, they operate in overdrive. Rapid learning, complex problem-solving under extreme stress." Across the room, archival footage played. Early humans battling mammoths, surviving brutal winters, adapting tools to hunt and defend. Earth's history was a litany of hardship, wars, plagues, natural disasters that had forged an indomitable will. Their evolution was a crucible, Liana said quietly. They didn't just survive the wild, they conquered it by becoming predators themselves, adaptable, relentless, and utterly unyielding. Meanwhile, back on Arden 6, Mara Tellis trained a new group of recruits, farmers, engineers, even children, teaching them guerrilla tactics, weapons handling, and the most important lesson of all, never give up. One evening, she gathered her squad in a dimly lit bunker. "Look, we all know what the Karnathi think of us," Mara said, voice low but fierce. "Vermin, pests, weak and unworthy. They believe they're gods of war, born to dominate." She paused, scanning their tired faces. "But we're not just fighting them. We're rewriting the rules. Every time they strike, we learn. Every loss makes us stronger. We don't just survive the storm, we become the storm." Far from the front line, the Karnathi high nest on Irsak was rattled. Warlord Kalir paced the obsidian throne room, his eyes burning with frustration. These humans, their resilience defies all logic. They endure wounds that would kill any Karnathi 10 times over. They heal and strike back with terrifying speed. A subordinate bowed. "My lord, their war machine is unlike anything we've seen. They do not rely on psychic dominance. Instead, they use their technology to compensate and outmaneuver us. They learn from our attacks faster than we can strike." Kalir clenched his claws. "Then we must change tactics. This is not a hunt anymore. It is a war of attrition. We crush them by breaking their spirit. If their bodies won't die, their pride will. Yet the humans had a secret weapon beyond science and technology, their unity. On Earth, centuries of hardship had forged societies that thrived on cooperation, innovation, and a fierce sense of purpose. That spirit had followed them into the stars. Mara's unit often spoke of legends from the old Earth, stories of warriors and survivors, of battles won against impossible odds. The humans were not just fighting for Arden 6, they were fighting for the survival of everything their ancestors had built. One night, Mara received a coded transmission from the Vigilant. Enemy supply lines are vulnerable near the Velkin asteroid. Field, Captain Elias's voice crackled through the comm. We're ready to strike with a combined force. Your squad, our raiders, and the nanoplague units. Mara smiled grimly. We break their chains. We cut their lifelines. The operation was brutal and swift. Under cover of darkness, human forces infiltrated Karnathi convoys, disabling engines, sabotaging supplies, and deploying nanobots that crippled communications and weapons systems from within. The Karnathi fleet's coordination faltered, their psychic links scrambled by technological sabotage. The battlefields became chaotic maelstroms, where Karnathi warriors found themselves preyed upon by unseen enemies. The galaxy watched in awe and growing fear. The humans weren't just a species that fought. They were a force of nature, born from the universe's most brutal crucible and tempered into a weapon that refused to be broken. In a quiet moment, Mara looked up at the stars from a hilltop on Arden 6. She whispered to the night sky. They don't understand us. They never will. Because humans were not merely survivors of a death world, they were the galaxy's new apex predators in disguise. Raxel Prime was the heart of the Karnathi Dominion, a sprawling industrial world choked with smoke, steel, and the endless hum of war factories. Here the Dominion forged the weapons that had crushed entire civilizations and upheld their rule as the galaxy's apex predators. But now, the human war had come to Raxel's doorstep. The sky above the capital city, Draxcal, roiled with smoke and fire as air raid sirens wailed. The Vigilant and its fleet had slipped past the outer defense grids, aided by a secret human sabotage network operating inside the city. Below, Mara Tellis and her squad moved like shadows through the industrial ruins, their faces smeared with ash and determination. The nanoplague had already infected key power plants and communication hubs, turning Karnathi technology against its owners. Stay sharp, Mara whispered into her comlink. This is their home turf. Every corner, every alley is a potential trap. The battle was brutal from the first moment. Karnathi's psi-augmented warlords loomed over the battlefield like demons, psychic blasts ripping through the human ranks. Yet human soldiers pressed forward with raw grit and ingenuity. Lieutenant Chen hacked into a derelict factory's mainframe, triggering an explosion that collapsed a steel bridge, cutting off a Karnathi armored column. Nearby, Mara lobbed a grenade into a squad of Karnathi warriors. The blast shattered armor and flesh alike. Keep moving, she shouted. They're strong, but we're faster. Amidst the chaos, Captain Elias Varn coordinated orbital strikes from the Vigilant. Deploy. Nanoswarms, he ordered. Target the primary weapons foundries. We hit their supply lines, they can't fight. Below, microscopic machines seeped into massive factories, corroding metal, short-circuiting assembly lines, and bringing the war machine to a grinding halt. The Karnathi, long used to dominating through sheer power, found themselves bleeding on every front. In the heart of Draxcal, Warlord Kalir roared his fury. Send the dreadnought Psycasters, he commanded. Unleash everything. We will crush these humans where it matters on our homeworld. Massive dreadnoughts lifted off, their psychic engines thrumming like titanic beasts. Beams of destructive energy cascaded down, leveling whole city blocks. But the humans had anticipated this. Using rapidly deployed gravity distortion devices, Captain Elias twisted the dreadnoughts' trajectories, causing them to collide with industrial spires sending shockwaves that shook the planet. Inside a ruined data center, Mara's squad hacked into Karnathi systems, sending a message across enemy networks. Your empire ends here. It was more than a threat. It was a promise. The battle for Hraxel stretched for days. Entire districts burned as human insurgents struck relentlessly. Karnathi Psi warriors fought desperately to hold their lines, but each victory came at a terrible cost. Amid the carnage, Mara found herself face to face with a Karnathi warlord, a towering figure whose psychic aura crackled with lethal energy. You are nothing but insects, the warlord sneered, claws raised to strike. Mara's fingers tightened on her railgun. Then we're the exterminators. The battle was fierce and personal. Psychic blasts clashed with bullets and grenades in a deadly dance. Mara dodged a crushing blow, fired, and the warlord staggered, wounded but unyielding. Elsewhere, the nanoplague continued its silent work, corroding weapons, disabling armor, and breaking the backbone of the Karnathi war effort. Factories halted. Weapon shipments failed. Hraxel's once invincible war machine sputtered. By the end of the siege, the planet lay scarred and bleeding. The Karnathi were forced to retreat, their losses staggering. The apex predators were wounded, deeply. Mara stood on a hill overlooking the ruined city, her breath ragged, eyes hard with resolve. We've done more than break their machines, she said to her team. We've shattered their myth. Back on the Vigilant, Captain Elias contacted Mara. This war isn't over, but now they know humans don't just fight to survive, we fight to win. Mara nodded, fingers tightening on her weapon. And when we win, she whispered, we won't just survive. We'll rule. Hraxel was lost. The Karnathi Empire was vulnerable. The galaxy had glimpsed a new reality, where the hunters could become the hunted, and humanity was only just beginning. The ashes of Hraxel Prime still drifted through the atmosphere when word arrived. The Galactic Council had convened an emergency summit. The defeat of the Karnathi at their homeworld had shaken the ancient alliances, forcing the galaxy's powers to reconsider everything. Among the council chambers, tension was thick as species from across the stars debated humanity's rise. Humans are not just fighters, warned Ambassador Tirvek of the Zenthari. His reptilian scales gleamed under the council's lights. They are a force unlike any we have seen. If we do not act, the balance of power will collapse. Opposing him, a human envoy smiled coolly. We seek no conquest beyond survival. We want peace, but make no mistake, if war is forced upon us, we will not retreat. Meanwhile, deep within the Human Resistance Command, Maratella studied the latest intelligence reports. Despite their victories, the Karnathi had not surrendered. Instead, they had begun forging alliances with other predatory species, preparing for a counterstrike that could crush the fragile human foothold. Captain Elias Varn's voice crackled over the comm. We've intercepted a Karnathi convoy moving toward the Yantar cluster. It's carrying a new weapon, a psychic amplifier that could nullify our nanoplague. We have to stop it. Mara's jaw tightened. We'll hit them before they deploy. Prepare the raiders. The operation was a desperate gamble. In the cold void near Yantar, the human fleet moved in silence, cloaked against enemy sensors. Mara's squad prepared for a strike mission aboard the Vigilance assault shuttles. As the Karnathi convoy loomed, AE, flotilla of dreadnoughts, frigates, and supply ships, a sudden pulse scrambled the human sensors. The psychic amplifier was active. On board the Vigilant, alarms blared. Lieutenant Chen shouted, Our systems are compromised. The amplifier is blocking. Nanoplague deployment. Captain Elias swore. Fall back to manual targeting, we're not giving up. Below, Mara led her squad in a daring boarding maneuver. The assault shuttles pierced the convoy's defense screen, crashing into the Karnathi dreadnought Vorjak. Inside, the warships shadowed corridors. Mara's team fought through waves of psychic warriors, their powers amplified to terrifying levels. Bullets met psychic shields, grenades exploded amid telekinetic blasts, but Mara's squad had a weapon of their own, human ingenuity. Using hacked Karnathi tech, they triggered localized EMP bursts, temporarily disabling the psychic amplifiers in critical sections. They moved quickly toward the ship's core. In the command bridge, Warlord Collier's voice thundered, "Do not let them destroy the amplifier. This is our key to crushing the humans." Mara reached the core control room and initiated a virus upload code designed to hijack the amplifier and turn its power inward. The ship trembled as systems overloaded. Outside, the convoy shuddered. The Vorjak's psychic amplification field faltered, then collapsed in a violent feedback loop. The psychic warriors inside screamed as their powers surged uncontrollably, then vanished. The human fleet seized the moment, launching a devastating barrage. Karnathi ships exploded in fire and ruin. Back on the Vigilant, Elias allowed himself a rare smile. They underestimated us. They thought their supremacy was absolute. Lieutenant Chen grinned. They didn't count on human stubbornness. But the victory came at a cost. Mara's squad sustained heavy losses. Friends and comrades lay wounded or dead in the ship's silent corridors. The war was far from over. As the surviving humans regrouped on Arden 6, a new revelation emerged from their scientists. Dr. Liana Varick transmitted urgent data to Mara and Elias. The Karnathi psychic technology is adapting. They're developing bioengineered soldiers, hybrids infused with human and Karnathi DNA. They may be faster, stronger, and even resistant to our nanoplague. Mara's eyes narrowed. They're trying to use our strength against us. Elias clenched his fists. Then we'll have to show them what it means to be human. The war had shifted. Humanity was no longer merely fighting to survive. They were becoming the galaxy's wild card, unstoppable, unpredictable, and unbreakable. The message came through encrypted channels, sharp and urgent. They called themselves the Sharkal, Dr. Liana Varick explained grimly during the resistance briefing. Hybrid soldiers, part Karnathi warrior, part human survivor. Engineered to withstand our nanoplague, to fight with the ferocity of their creators and the cunning of their prey. Mara Tellis's jaw clenched. They're using our biology as a weapon against us. Captain Elias Varn's voice was steady but resolute. Then we have to learn to fight them on their terms. The Sharkal were unlike anything the humans had faced. Towering, sleek, their Karnathi exoskeletons reinforced by human muscle and endurance. Their eyes flickered with a strange, cold intelligence. Their arrival was heralded by a wave of brutal raids on human supply lines and forward bases. Entire outposts fell before the hybrid soldiers, who fought with savage coordination and unyielding strength. Mara's squad was sent to investigate the ruins of a forward base on the barren moon of Vexar 9, where survivors reported strange shadows stalking the darkness. The moment they landed, the air felt thick with menace. The ground was scarred with claw marks and scorch marks from energy weapons. "Keep your eyes open," Mara ordered, her voice low. "These aren't just Karnathi. They're something worse." The first encounter was sudden and violent. From the shadows, a Sharkal warrior lunged, muscles rippling beneath gleaming black armor. Its clawed hand slammed into the ground just inches from Mara's face, narrowly missing her. "Contact!" Lieutenant Chen shouted, firing her railgun. The hybrid absorbed the blast, barely flinching. The battle erupted. A deadly ballet of gunfire, psychic strikes, and brutal melee. Human soldiers dodged telekinetic blasts and razor-sharp claws, striking with grenades, rifles, and EMP charges. Despite their best efforts, the hybrids pressed relentlessly. Mara ducked a swipe from a Sharkal's claw and countered with a shot to its exposed neck joint. The warrior staggered but didn't fall. It snarled, a chilling sound that mixed Karnathi rage with human fury. "We can't hold them here," Mara shouted. "Fall back to extraction." As the squad retreated, Mara's mind raced. The Sharkal were more than soldiers. They were a symbol of the Dominion's desperation and cruelty. They embodied everything the Karnathi feared about humanity's resilience, twisted into a weapon of annihilation. Back on Arden 6, Dr. Varick worked feverishly to develop countermeasures. "If we can isolate the genetic markers responsible for the hybrid's resilience," she explained, "we might engineer a nanoplague variant that targets their specific biology." Captain Elias stood behind her, watching the team. "This war is no longer just about survival," he said quietly. It's about evolution. We're fighting for the right to exist, and to define what that existence means. Meanwhile, the Karnathi High Nest seethed with a mix of triumph and dread. Warlord Kalir addressed his council. The Shar-Kal will crush the humans, he boomed. But we must be wary. Their spirit is harder to kill than any body. If we fail, our empire falls. His eyes burned with fanatic resolve. We will unleash the final weapon. If these hybrids cannot end the war, then nothing can. The humans had no time to prepare for what came next. An enormous Karnathi dreadnought, unlike any they had seen, dropped out of hyperspace near Arden 6. Its hull bristled with weaponry, psychic emitters pulsing like dark stars. From its depths, the Karnathi unleashed wave after wave of Shar-Kal soldiers, supported by psychic storms that warped the battlefield. The resistance was pushed to the edge. Mara's squad fought desperately to hold the city's last defensive perimeter. Blasts tore through buildings, psychic shrieks shattered the night. But the humans fought with a fierceness born of desperation. Elias coordinated orbital strikes while ground forces set traps and launched counterattacks. In a pivotal moment, Mara faced down a massive Shar-Kal commander. The creature's psychic power radiated like a storm, but Mara's mind was steel. Using an experimental neural disruptor, she shattered the hybrid's psychic shield, leaving it vulnerable. Her squad opened fire, finally bringing down the monstrous foe. Victory came at a staggering price. The city lay in ruins. Thousands of lives were lost. But the Shar-Kal had been stopped. As the smoke cleared, Mara gazed at the horizon, knowing this was only the beginning. The Karnathi will keep evolving, she said softly. And so will we. The war for the galaxy's future had turned darker and deadlier. But humanity's spirit, their stubborn, unbreakable will, would not be extinguished. They were no longer just survivors. They were predators in their own right. The destruction of Arden 6's last defensive line left the human resistance reeling, but not broken. Deep beneath the planet's surface, in the labyrinthine tunnels of the old mining colonies, Mara Tellis gathered her commanders. The time had come to strike back, not with brute force but with cunning. The Karnathi believe they've ground us down, Mara began, eyes blazing. But they don't understand human ingenuity. They've thrown everything at us. Psychic warriors, hybrids, dreadnoughts. Now we take the fight to their source. Captain Elias Varn stepped forward, his voice calm but urgent. Our intelligence points to the Nexus Station, the core of the Karnathi psychic network. If we can destroy it, we sever their command and disrupt their enhancements. The room fell silent. The Nexus was a fortress beyond imagination, a bastion, floating in a dark star cluster, guarded by psychic fields and an armada of warships. Suicide mission? Asked Lieutenant Chen, a wry smile on her lips. Mara shook her head. A gamble. But we have an edge. Our new nanoplague variant targets hybrids. This time, we bring the fight to them. The plan was audacious. The Vigilant would lead a strike, force deep into hostile space, launching a covert insertion team to infiltrate the Nexus while the fleet engaged the defenses. Mara's squad, seasoned but weary, trained relentlessly. Each knew the stakes. Their survival meant nothing less than the survival of humanity. As they approached the star cluster, the warship's sensors detected the Nexus's psychic field, a shimmering veil of energy that warped space itself. Deploying. Nanoplague drones, Elias commanded, targeting shield generators. The battle began with a furious exchange of fire. Karnathi dreadnoughts unleashed psychic storms, but the humans fought with precision, their drones infiltrating the enemy's systems. Mara's insertion shuttle pierced the Nexus's outer hull under the cloak of the battle. Inside, corridors twisted like a labyrinth of bone and metal, pulsating with psychic energy. The Shar-Kal guards were relentless, but Mara's squad moved with silent efficiency, striking, hacking, adapting. They reached the core chamber where the psychic amplifiers pulsed, a colossal, pulsating crystal alive with raw power. Plant the charges, Mara ordered. Suddenly alarms blared. Warlord Kalir appeared, eyes glowing with fury. "You dare invade the heart of the Dominion?" he snarled, psychic tendrils lashing out. The final confrontation was fierce and personal. Mara's squad engaged Kalir's elite guards while she faced the warlord himself. Psychic blasts collided with railgun fire, minds clashing in a battle of wills. Using the neural disruptor, Mara weakened Kalir's defenses, pushing through his psychic storm. With a cry, she detonated the charges. The Nexus exploded in a cascade of energy and debris, the psychic field collapsing like a dying star. Outside, the human fleet pressed their advantage, routing the Karnathi forces. As the dust settled, Mara and Elias stood amidst the wreckage of the Nexus station. "This is the turning point," Elias said, exhaustion in his voice. "The Karnathi Empire is broken." Mara looked to the stars, knowing the war was far from over. "We've shattered their power," she replied. "Now it's our galaxy to claim." The galaxy held its breath. With the destruction of the Nexus station, the Karnathi psychic network lay in ruins. Their empire, once thought unbreakable, staggered on the brink of collapse. But the carnage of war left scars that ran deep. Back aboard the Vigilant, Mara Tellis stood before the battered crew. Faces were etched with exhaustion and loss, but also something harder to kill: hope. "We fought their war machines," she said, voice steady. "We faced their hybrids, their Psi warlords, and the darkness of their empire. And we won." Captain Elias Varn stepped forward, eyes sharp beneath a heavy brow. "But victory is just the beginning. The galaxy is watching. We have a chance to rebuild, to lead, to protect." The Galactic Council, shaken by the Karnathi's fall, convened once more. For the first time in centuries, the ancient powers recognized humanity as a major player. Ambassador Tirvek, once a vocal skeptic, approached Mara and Elias during the summit. "You have changed the balance of power," he admitted. "But power comes with responsibility. Will humanity be the galaxy's savior or its new predator?" Mara met his gaze evenly. "We will be what the galaxy needs, nothing less." Yet even as peace talks began, new threats lurked in the shadows. Scattered Karnathi warbands refused to surrender, turning to piracy and sabotage. And in the dark reaches beyond known space, whispers spoke of alien powers watching humanity's rise with growing interest and concern. On Arden 6, Mara visited the memorial for the fallen. Names etched in stone: soldiers, scientists, civilians, each a testament to sacrifice. She knelt before the monument, fingers tracing a familiar name. "We survived the impossible," she whispered, "and now we must survive what comes next." The war had forged humanity anew, stronger, smarter, unyielding. No longer prey, no longer victims. They were apex predators. As the Vigilant prepared to depart on a new mission, exploration, diplomacy, and defense, Mara gazed at the stars. "The galaxy is vast," she said softly, "but so are we." And somewhere, deep in the void, a new chapter began.